Murky is the attorney's fees question because that operates under slightly different rules, and Blake's team leaned into that more than the damages argument. Wayfair's legal team leaned harder on the damage.
The legal battle between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni has taken another dramatic turn, with lawyers from both sides returning to court, even after announcing a settlement just weeks ago. The most significant development is that a federal judge is now considering whether Lively can continue pursuing attorney fees, statutory damages, and other financial remedies despite the broader lawsuit having been settled in May 2026. During a recent hearing in New York, Baldoni's legal team argued that Lively is attempting to obtain compensation without going through the trial process that was canceled as part of the settlement. According to reports from the hearing, Baldoni's attorney argued that the settlement effectively ended the dispute and that additional claims for damages should not proceed. Lively's attorney countered that California law may still allow her to seek reimbursement and penalties connected to Baldoni's previously dismissed countersuit. The judge did not issue an immediate ruling and said a written decision would come later. Many observers believed the case was over after the settlement announced shortly before the scheduled May 18, 2026 trial. However, the latest hearing shows that major financial questions remain unresolved. Legal commentators note that the outcome could influence how future entertainment industry disputes are handled, particularly when parties settle before trial but continue fighting over legal fees and damages. The conflict stems from the production of the film It Ends With Us. Lively originally accused Baldoni of misconduct during the making of the film and alleged that a campaign was conducted against her after she raised concerns. Baldoni denied the allegations and later filed major counterclaims. Over time, courts dismissed Baldoni's large defamation lawsuit, as well as many of Lively's original claims. In April 2026, Judge Louis Lyman dismissed 10 of Lively's 13 claims, including her sexual harassment claims, while allowing certain retaliation-related claims to continue. That ruling dramatically changed the scope of the case ahead of the planned trial. Just 2 weeks before jurors were expected to hear evidence, the parties reached a settlement and agreed to end the remaining litigation. The agreement prevented what would likely have been one of Hollywood's most closely watched celebrity trials in years. At the time, both sides portrayed the outcome as favorable to their positions. Yet the latest hearing demonstrates that disagreement remains over whether Lively can still recover money related to Baldoni's failed legal claims against her. Court reports describe a tense hearing in which attorneys debated whether California's survivor protection laws apply in this situation. Baldoni's side argued that allowing Lively to pursue damages now would effectively create a second phase of litigation after the original trial had already been canceled. Lively's legal team responded that the statute was specifically designed to discourage retaliatory lawsuits and that her claims for fees and damages remain legally valid despite the settlement. While the original trial will not take place because of the settlement, some reports suggest the dispute over fees and damages could potentially require additional proceedings if the judge determines factual questions still need to be resolved. Some commentators have even described the possibility of a smaller mini-trial focused solely on damages issues. Supporters of Lively argue that people who raise workplace concerns should have access to legal protections and compensation when facing retaliatory litigation. Supporters of Baldoni argue that the settlement should have brought the entire matter to a close and that continuing the fight undermines the purpose of settling. The controversy has remained one of the most discussed celebrity legal battles in recent entertainment history, generating extensive media coverage and online debate. The next major step is Judge Lyman's written ruling on whether Lively can continue seeking attorney fees, damages, and statutory penalties after the settlement. That decision will determine whether the courtroom battle finally ends or enters yet another chapter. For now, the headline is clear. Despite a settlement that appeared to close the book on the dispute, lawyers for Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni are still fighting over key legal and financial issues, ensuring that one of Hollywood's most closely followed courtroom dramas remains in the spotlight. Victoria Burke, the architect of California's survivor protection law, has publicly slammed Blake Lively's legal strategy in her ongoing dispute with It Ends With Us director and co-star Justin Baldoni. Reacting to the actress' latest filing, Burke, in an appearance on The Megyn Kelly Show, discussed her concerns about the way the law has become part of the high-profile legal battle. In a clip shared by the official handle, Burke was asked, "Is Blake Lively completely abusing the purpose of California survivors law in her legal fees claim?" To this, she shared, You nailed it about the concern that most survivors is, a lot of times a defamation lawsuit are used to silence them, because someone who receives it realizes that it might take 5, 6, or 7 figures to defend them in multiple years, and it's always cheaper to go quiet. So the concern was, if you have to go forward and defend it and you prevail, and show that you didn't have malice, you would recover your attorney's fees and damages. Burke, who drafted the legislation, said the law was designed to protect survivors who come forward with allegations of sexual assault, harassment, and discrimination. "Never thought my bill would be in the eye of a story with all eyes watching," she wrote in a statement shared publicly MeghanKelly.com. Slamming the actress and her team, she added, "As the architect of the bill, I strongly believe in the constitutionality of my bill." Unhappy with it being weaponized as a PR redemption tool by Blake Lively and her team. "Honestly, I don't think the judge should grant attorney fees in this matter." Burke further argued that the focus surrounding the law has shifted away from the survivors it was designed to protect. "I was worried that this was going to become just a PR campaign for her, and it wasn't going to be about survivors anymore. I didn't want her to turn my bill into the Met Gala," she was quoted saying. Lively's legal battle with Baldoni was back in the news after the actress claimed that she suffered retaliation after making sexual harassment claims over the making of their 2024 film It Ends With Us. Attorney Ellen Garofalo, representing Baldoni, told U.S. District Judge Louis J. Lyman that Lively was trying through an application for attorney fees to do an end run around the jury trial that was voided when a deal was reached before a May trial was set to start. Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni have been making a lot of headlines for the last 2 years. It all began during the shooting of It Ends With Us, when the actress accused the filmmaker and actor of harassment. A courtroom drama ensued. Just when people around them thought it was the end after they settled their differences and legal battle, the attorneys of Lively came back to a New York court. Team argued that the defamation lawsuit brought against her by Baldoni and his production company, Wayfarer Studios, was a retaliatory move prohibited by California law. Lawyers for Baldoni rejected the claim. Justin Baldoni shared last year that he's feeling grateful when he found himself in the midst of a legal battle with actress Blake Lively. On September 29, the actor, 41, spoke with TMZ outside of Los Angeles International Airport, where a reporter inquired about his state of mind. "I'm actually doing wonderful," Baldoni said, adding that he was very grateful, very positive, and feeling a lot of love. The TMZ reporter then hinted that Baldoni seems to be taking the high road in his fight against Lively. Baldoni replied, "That's what we always try to do." Baldoni and Lively's legal showdown began in December 2024 after the release of It Ends With Us, when Lively accused her co-star, Baldoni, of sexual harassment, creating a hostile work environment and coordinating with a crisis PR team to launch a smear campaign against her, while Baldoni has denied the claims. Baldoni then proceeded to countersue Lively and her husband Ryan Reynolds, accusing the couple of extortion and defamation, but that lawsuit was dismissed in June. Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni settled their dispute, but a new court battle over legal fees is keeping the drama alive. Just when it looked like the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni saga was finally heading into its end credits era, the courtroom drama has found a surprise sequel. Only weeks after both sides reached a settlement that avoided a highly publicized trial, lawyers for Lively are back in court pursuing a new legal victory, and Baldoni's team is not happy about it. Instead, the new battle centers on legal fees and financial penalties. Lively's legal team argues that she should be reimbursed for legal costs under a California law designed to protect people from retaliatory lawsuits after reporting harassment. Her lawyers contend that Baldoni's countersuit falls into the category of legal actions the law was created to discourage, particularly because portions of his claims were previously dismissed by the court. They argued that the settlement had already resolved the broader dispute and claimed that pursuing legal fees now would effectively restart parts of a case that both sides had agreed to leave behind. Lively accused Baldoni of inappropriate behavior during filming and later alleged that efforts were made to damage her reputation after she raised concerns. Baldoni denied the allegations and argued that Lively's complaints were part of a broader attempt to gain creative control over the project. However, Judge Louis Lyman has yet to decide whether Lively is entitled to recover her legal costs. Until that ruling arrives, one of Hollywood's most closely watched legal feuds remains very much alive, even after both sides supposedly moved on. Blake Lively is still wrapped up in her courtroom drama with Justin Baldoni. But if her Instagram is any indication, she's been making sure to spend quality time thirsting over Ryan Reynolds in between legal filings. The post marks the second time in just a few weeks that Lively has publicly reminded the internet she's still Reynolds' biggest fan. Last month, she shared a selfie of them eating cookies in the sun outside. After posting the photo and writing "delicious" across the image, she followed it up with a closer shot zooming in on her husband's biceps set to Justin Bieber's "Yummy." While the two sides recently reached a settlement that appeared to bring the highly publicized dispute to an end, one major issue remains unresolved. A judge ordered representatives for both parties back to court on Monday to address attorneys' fees, litigation costs, and potential damages. It's been reported that Lively and Baldoni spent $60 million on the legal battle. Lively is seeking reimbursement for legal fees connected to Baldoni's now-dismissed $400 million defamation lawsuit. Page 6 reports she is seeking triple damages and punitive damages, but the exact amount is unclear. The dispute centers on a California law designed to protect people who report sexual harassment or retaliation from retaliatory defamation lawsuits. If the court agrees, Baldoni's side could be ordered to pay Lively's legal fees and potentially additional damages. According to reports, Baldoni has already agreed to accept whatever ruling the judge ultimately makes. That's not the only drama around Lively. It's been reported that she will not be getting an invite to her former bestie Taylor Swift's wedding to Travis Kelce. Lively's ongoing legal battle dragged Swift into the mix, and her private texts were leaked. There has been ongoing speculation that the drama caused a huge rift between the former besties. But judging by her recent social media activity, Blake seems perfectly content focusing on a different headline for now, her husband looking good, carrying a purse. That caveat is thanks to a California law called the Speak Your Truth Act, which was signed by Governor Gavin Newsom back in 2023. It makes certain communications about sexual harassment privileged, which is why Baldoni had his $400 million defamation claim against Lively dismissed a year ago. But that is not all the law does. It also allows individuals sued over privileged sexual harassment communications to be paid attorney's fees and other damages. According to California Civil Code Section 47.1b, a prevailing defendant in any defamation action brought against that defendant for making a communication that is privileged under this section shall be entitled to their reasonable attorney's fees and costs for successfully defending themselves in the litigation, plus treble damages for any harm caused to them by the defamation action against them, in addition to punitive damages available under Section 3294 or any other relief otherwise permitted by law. Lively's team has argued any fees and damages should be trebled, read tripled, under the California statute. Additionally, she is seeking a separate award of punitive damages, but it is unclear exactly how much total money the star wants from her, it ends at us co-star and director. Lawyers for Baldoni and Lively were in a New York federal courtroom fighting over the complicated issue Monday. Neither actor was at the hearing before U.S. District Judge Louis J. Lyman, but Baldoni's attorney accused Lively of trying to do an end run around a trial that was canceled when the two agreed to settle. Lively's lawyer, meanwhile, claimed the lawsuit Baldoni brought against his client was exactly the kind of case the California law was designed to prevent. Moreover, the architect and driving force behind the Speak Your Truth model legislation, attorney and law professor Victoria Burke, posted on social media that it was never her intention for the law to be used in this way. "Never thought my bill would be in the eye of a story with all eyes watching," Burke wrote. "As the architect of the bill, I strongly believe in the constitutionality of my bill." Unhappy with it being weaponized as a PR redemption tool by Blake Lively and her team. "Honestly, I don't think the judge should grant attorney fees in this matter." Burke, who drafted this legislation based on her experience as a sexual assault survivor, joined Meghan on Today to explain why she feels Lively is exploiting the law. She said she received a communication from the Gossip Girl star's attorney that mentioned that Blake was going to be moving 47.1 nationally, even though Burke had already gotten the law introduced in 15 states and enacted in 4. "I have for years been working on moving it nationwide. I acquired 3 extra states last year, and I'm moving forward with different states now," she explained. "It takes multiple years for different states, but I received a communication from her attorney that Blake was intending to now move 47.1 nationwide, including to New York." Burke said she alerted the attorney that she was already working in the Empire State and asked to be notified before further action was taken. My whole strategy was to fly this under the radar because we usually don't have much opposition, she shared. I said that oftentimes Lively is compared to Amber Heard, and so I would prefer you check with me and just stick with mentioning the California part without mentioning it's being moved nationwide. I was worried that this was going to become just a PR campaign for her, and it wasn't going to be about survivors anymore, Burke said. I didn't want her to turn my bill into the Met Gala. She said someone from Lively's team responded to thank her for her perspective, but she alleged she was cut out of additional communications and meetings about moving the bill forward in New York specifically. It came to light that this spring her attorney was having meetings that I was unaware of with one of the advocacy groups once a week, where she was assisting and redrafting the bill, Burke said. I understood that she added or contributed to an additional paragraph, and I kept asking to see the additional paragraph. It was never sent to me, but I understood it was something to protect the attorneys who would be the equivalent of Blake's attorney. So I asked for that portion to be removed, because I felt the focus should be on survivors purely because attorneys have insurance. In Burke's view, Lively should not be entitled to her legal fees under 47.1 for two reasons. Last year, when Baldoni's case was dismissed, it was dismissed procedurally. So I wasn't understanding if the case is dismissed, how are you awarding damages when a jury hasn't heard, or a judge hasn't heard the facts and whether or not malice is there, she explained. How can you award it without, fact-finding? And then there is the fact that Baldoni and Lively just reached an agreement to avoid going before a jury to try her significantly slimmed-down case against him that no longer included the sexual assault allegations. When I heard the settlement had been reached, I was like, okay, that's off the table, they're done with this now, Burke said. I thought for sure they would have resolved that as well during that settlement, and then to hear it was continuing on, I was puzzled by that. As I understand, her sexual harassment claims had been dismissed, so I was a little bit confused. Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively's lawyers clashed in court over whether she can still seek fees and damages after settling their lawsuit. The legal battle between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni may have settled, but the two sides remain locked in a dispute over whether the actress can pursue attorneys' fees and damages under a California anti-retaliation law. During a hearing in federal court in Manhattan on Monday, June 1st, attorneys for both parties sparred over California Civil Code Section 47.1, which protects people who publicly speak about alleged sexual assault, harassment, or misconduct from retaliatory lawsuits. As the Associated Press reported, Baldoni's attorney, Ellen Garofalo, argued that Lively is attempting to obtain damages through the statute despite agreeing to settle the broader case before it reached trial. Garofalo told Judge Louis J. Lyman that Lively was seeking an end run around a trial that was canceled when the parties resolved the lawsuit. Baldoni's attorney said the case was resolved without his client or his production company paying a cent of the $300 million in damages she was demanding. On Monday, lawyers for Lively were back in court, trying to get a judge to make Baldoni pay her legal bills plus other penalties, according to the Associated Press. Lively's lawyers said the 38-year-old actor is entitled to the money under a California law because Baldoni's countersuit was thrown out last year by a judge. Lively's lawyer, Michael Gottlieb, said the lawsuit Baldoni brought against Lively was the type of litigation the California law was designed to stop. The law is intended to protect survivors of sexual harassment from protracted and damaging legal fights. Get daily national news. Get daily Canada news delivered to your inbox so you'll never miss the day's top stories. Last month, Baldoni's lawyers asked a judge to deny any future proceedings related to Lively's request to recover legal fees and damages that resulted from the legal dispute against Baldoni and his company, Wayfarer Studios. Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios denied Lively's allegations, and Baldoni was dismissed as a defendant in U.S. District Judge Louis Lyman's April 2nd ruling when he threw out Lively's sexual harassment claims. In a letter filed in May, Garofalo wrote, "The Wayfarer defendants respectfully request that the court deny plaintiff's request for further briefing, an evidentiary hearing, or other proceedings on whether plaintiff is entitled to a recovery." After agreeing to a settlement in which she dismissed her 3 remaining claims without the Wayfarer defendants paying a cent of the $300 million in damages she was demanding, plaintiff Blake Lively seeks leave to submit further briefing to address any impact of the court's intervening rulings, Garofalo added. We acknowledge the process presented challenges and recognize concerns raised by Ms. Lively deserve to be heard. We remain firmly committed to workplaces free of improprieties and unproductive environments. It is our sincere hope that this brings closure and allows all involved to move forward constructively and in peace, including a respectful environment online. Brian Friedman, Garofalo, Gottlieb, and Ezra Hudson said. Lively and Baldoni's legal saga began in December 2024, when Lively accused Baldoni of sexual harassment and retaliation, first in a complaint. Then, in a lawsuit about a week later, Baldoni claimed in a January court filing that he felt pressured by Lively and Reynolds' mega-celebrity friend to approve scene revisions after a meeting at Lively and Reynolds' home. Baldoni sued Lively and Reynolds for defamation in January 2025. That lawsuit came the same day that Baldoni sued the New York Times for libel, alleging the paper worked with Lively to smear him. In late March, Lively asked a judge to dismiss Baldoni's countersuit, calling his claims vengeful and rambling, after she filed the lawsuit against him for sexual harassment and retaliation.